This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen in my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one. Hey, he's just being Frank.
That is right. It is time for another episode of Just Being Frank, coming at you from the Champion Center here in Amherst, Massachusetts. This podcast brought to you by our great friends at the Massachusetts Collective, improving the lives of student athletes for men's and women's basketball here on campus. And we need you to be a part of the Mass Collective. You can visit them at themassco.com. I'm Jay Burnham, voice of the Minutemen, alongside UMass basketball head coach Frank Martin. Coach, good afternoon to you. A lot to get to today. How you doing?
I'm good. Like, by the way, we're both coming off wins. So should I wear my UMass hat? Should I wear my Celtics hat? Which one you think I should go with today?
Let's stick with the UMass one. Although, yeah, Celtics have been looking. How closely are you able to pay attention to, NBA?
Yeah,
you do?
I don't watch. I don't pay. The NBA's gotten really boring to me, but I follow certain teams. It's hard for me to watch regular season NBA because there's no practice, so there's very little strategy. And there's no extra money on the table. They just kind of play. And I'm not trying to disrespect pros. I'm not saying they don't play hard. That's not what I'm saying. There's not strategy involved. So it becomes a very ISO, just play through that guy. And there's no defensive concepts because there's no practice. But I follow certain teams because of relationships or people I know or whatever it may be. Or there's some teams I really like how they play. So then if I can watch, then I'll watch them more for offense than defense in the regular season. But then when you see postseason basketball, that's what everyone says. It's two different games. Of course, there's more money on the table for the winner. Therefore, the guys play a little differently. There's more attention to detail. And there's practice because you're playing the same team over and over and over. So now there's strategy in place. And so I enjoy watching playoff basketball. But yes, I do follow the Celtics.
Well, in between it all, your team is coming off the second conference victory as we record this on Thursday after you defeated LaSalle. And, you had told us post-game, we'll get into this game. We'll get into some questions that we have from the fans as well. 81-65, the final. You told us after the game something interesting. I thought about Rasul Diggins. I wanted to get your opinion as to, how you felt he played, coming off kind of a tough shooting day in the loss against Dayton. And then, he comes out 3 of 5 from 3-point range on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's consistent with what he's done for us all year, which is attempt and make threes. Unfortunately, in the Dayton game, they didn't go in. But last time I checked, we shot a ball to take the lead in the last minute of the game. So that means that he and our team were doing a lot of things right. Unfortunately, the ball didn't go in for him. And a year ago, and I said this publicly, and I'll repeat it here with you, after the third shot, I probably would have pulled him aside and said, if you shoot again, I'm taking you out of the game. Because he wouldn't spend any time in the gym. So he had not earned the right to shoot balls. But now, since the spring and summer and even in the season, he's in that gym day and night, shooting ball after ball after ball. And when you do those things, that's what breeds confidence. Everybody wants to know, coach is breaking his confidence. I got nothing to do with breaking confidence. Players determine whether they're confident or not based on how much work they put in. My job is to elevate them. And he's putting into work, so he's a much confident player. The one thing I can tell you that he made a huge difference on, and everyone pays attention to who makes shots. We couldn't guard Brickus, and he took Brickus 3 minutes into the second half, and he absolutely changed the complexion of us defensively when he started guarding Brickus. He didn't eliminate Brickus, but Brickus stopped hurting us the way he was before that.
Yeah, it's funny because we've talked a lot about Rasul's offensive game and how much better he is at free throws and just, he hits that mid-range jump shot. I think the first bucket you had was that 18-footer that he got early on. But defensively, has he taken the same steps forward in that department as he has on the offensive end?
Absolutely. It's physically he's a better athlete. He's stronger. He's put in there's a commitment that you have to make to grow. It's hard. And he's made it. And that commitment is not just shooting balls. It's also when you go in the weight room, be excited about pushing your body. The weight room's not fun. But if you don't push yourself in the weight room, you don't get stronger. And he has, and he's put on body weight, good weight. His strength numbers are through the roof compared to what they were when he first got here, the improvements. And when you do all those things, you become a better basketball player. Jay, I understand that maybe I don't fit in with the millennials very well. They got their own terminology, and I don't even know millennials. Is that like the new kind of age group?
You're in the Gen Z and beyond category now.
I don't know what. I know that when I was a kid, there's nothing. We didn't label ourselves. We were just kids. Now, like every 20 years, you got a different group of a different name for a different group of people. I got no idea who's who. Whatever this new group of people that are 25 years old, whatever they are, I got no idea who they are. They've come up with this terminology because everything's analytics and everything has to be labeled two-way player. What the heck's a two-way player in basketball? Like last time I checked, the guys in the game, they play offense and defense. They don't just play offense. Like you're a basketball player, that means you do both. You don't do
like in football. A two-way player means you're playing on both sides of the ball, which doesn't happen all that much, right?
Yes,
at least at the college level.
Like in basketball, like last time I checked, this isn't 1927 where you play 3-on-3 on one side and 3-on-3 on the other side, and the people that play offense over there don't play defense over here. Maybe it's time for us old guys like me that we don't comprehend that we got to put a label on everything. We know everything as like a whole. Like, you're a basketball player. Well, when you play basketball, guess what? When you check in, you got to play offense. You got to play defense. I never had a coach explain that to me. I learned that with my peers. If somebody scored on me, they didn't let me back on the court in a pickup game. So you learn that if you want to be a basketball player, you better do both.
Well, defensively, I mean, you held LaSalle to 65 points. They have two premium scores in that backcourt, and now you've got 2 wins out of the 3 that you played in league, where you've won by double digits. But take me back through this you talked about it on the post-game show last night. The first half versus the second half, what was the difference in your team and how they were able to pull away yesterday?
Yeah, I thought we played fairly well defensively in the first half. I didn't think we played like, I didn't think we lacked effort. I think I used the word lethargic. And that was more on the offensive side of the ball. We side of the floor. I mean, our cuts were not committed. Our post ups were not committed. We had good possessions, and we had other possessions where we were slow to the ball. Whether it be on post entries, guys not attacking to go catch the ball. We threw a lob pass in there where we just stood there and watched the ball. Even in our decision making, we were kind of slow with it, and so the ball movement wasn't as good. I thought the second half the guys played with some defensive purpose, but offensively, I thought we were more committed to what we were trying to do.
Once again, you had multiple guys become a factor in the double-digit scoring. You got 4 guys in that category, with 10 from Daniel Hankett-Sanford, 12 from Jalen Curry. Diggins had 15 and Cohen had 24. This has happened, I think, 6 times now where you've had 4 guys with double figures. You've had twice 5 guys with double figures. What does that say about your team when you can kind of spread the scoring around like you have been able to do this year?
That's when I got teams I enjoy, that's how we play. And when I sit there and I say we're playing through a personality, that's what I'm talking about. We're consistent with that. We're not, this isn't like, that's the other new terminology. It's so-and-so's team. Really? What's that mean? Because I've been in basketball for a long time. I've been in team sports for a long time. It's not a player's team, it's our team. And we are all committed to doing our jobs. Now, if your part of the job is to be a scorer, then go score. If my job is to focus in on shoot three as a last resort, then I better shoot threes as a last resort. It's this team's committed to creating a personality, and they understand who they are. They're at peace with it. I don't have to tell people stop doing what you're not good at. They respect each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they understand how to come together to try and play through strengths every single day. So when my teams are good, and this season is still in the middle. I'm not here to determine how good we are, how bad we are. That's not my place. But when you go back to my coaching career, and I've been fortunate, I've had a lot more good teams than bad teams. When my teams are good, that's what you find. You find a common presence defensively, and you find balance offensively. That's how I like to play. That's how I think the game should be played, and that's how this team's playing right now.
We've got some questions from the fans, but I think the first one that everyone was asking about in the game against LaSalle in the second half, Matt Cross got tangled up with a player. It looked like he had to kind of avoid the cheerleaders, and then was off the court and had his it looked like his ankle wrapped up yesterday. You don't have to give us a doctor's update, but just how is he doing and how is he getting around?
Yeah, it was normal sprain of an ankle. It hurt more than normal because he sprained it for the first time, get ready for the West Virginia game, and then he tweaked it again and get ready during the Siena game, and now he kind of just again and in between that ankle pain and the tooth, like in Dayton, half his tooth got knocked out, like his tooth got snapped in half. And there's pain there, and and he's a little beat up, so we'll see. Tomorrow will be a better indication on where he's at and whether or not he can play.
It's just indicative of how he plays, though, right? I mean, there's nothing that holds Matt Cross back, and you can't tell him to dial it down, right? Because he's got one speed, and that's as hard as he can possibly go at all times.
Yeah, I'm telling you, look at last year. Like, he lost 20 pounds during pneumonia, comes back, then hurts his knee. I thought he had blown out his knee when he went down in that game. I think, I can't remember what game it was, but now he's out. I mean, we're not winning games. And he came in and played, like, forced himself onto the court so he can play against St. Bonaventure the last game of the season, and helped us win that game. And he was basically on one leg and no practices for a whole month. But that's who he is, man. He cares about that uniform. He cares about his teammates. He's a loyal dude, and I'm happy that I feel bad that physically he's where he's at right now with some of these issues, but I'm really happy that he's had the success he's had this early in the season.
Do you feel as though your team, yourself, are better prepared this year to, if you had to have a guy miss a couple of the games, to be able to backfill that?
Yeah, I mean, we were prepared last year. The problem with last year was it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other. We lost, starting point guard. Then Rasul goes down at the same time. Then Wildens goes down with a knee. Then you get Rasul back, and Wildens back, and then Matt goes down. It was a revolving door, and we just couldn't ever. You make an adjustment today, and then tomorrow you have to make another adjustment, and that makes it really hard. But I mean, can we absorb losing Matt? Yes. How good can we be without Matt? I got no idea. Would I rather have Matt? Yes. You got to be ready to go. That's all I can say. And I like playing guys early in the season. You get all these basketball purists like, oh, he plays too many guys. And, well, number one, the way we play offensively and defensively is such a high rate. It's really taxing on players, and there's a whole lot more possessions in our games. So you have to go to your bench. That's number one. Number two, I also believe in playing my bench to get them ready. So if you ever call their number, they're not spooked at the beginning. They're ready to go. So we got guys that have played. Now we got to make sure that that if needed, that they can step up a level.
Are you ready for some questions from the fans?
It depends.
Keep in mind, these are from the fans, not me. All right.
It depends. That's where I was going with it. Like, you gonna own them?
Here we go. All right. Mostly David says, did the team do anything differently in practice when free throw shooting played a significant role in those two losses that you had earlier on? I think the Harvard one is the one that comes to mind the most. Or were you confident they simply had kind of off nights in those games? It's a matter of like, you say, hey, maybe they can't shoot free throws, or you had confidence in them, but it just didn't happen that night.
It's I mean, Matt Cross, a good free throw shooter. He's gonna make free throws. Josh has been a career 58% free throw shooter. I think he, it's that's his journey. Rasul last year. Well, we talked about this before. What was he? I don't remember, but he was awful. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
This year Rasul's like up there at 80%. Rasul's a good shooter. He's committed himself to working at maintaining being a good shooter. So, I think we got good foul shooters. Josh's inconsistencies is not a technique thing. It's just like every other shooter. It's a mental thing. He's got and the more I bring light onto that, the more complicated it becomes for that person. You either got good technique or you got bad technique. If you got bad technique, then I got to get in there. Me and my staff got to get in there and change your technique. If you got good technique, then it's here. And it's a matter of understanding how to rep it as much as you can to be at peace with it. I get a kick all the time. I have people come up to me and how can guys not shoot free throws? I can go to the foul line right now and make 8 out of 10. I said, okay, did you dive on the loose ball? Did you take a charge? Did you just get hit in the head by a 250-pound guy and land on your back on the floor? And now you got to go to the foul line under those conditions and relax and shoot a free throw? That's a different animal. And
it's like, every guy you've ever played golf with. On the range, I was hitting these straight down the middle, 300 yards, right?
You taking a shot at me?
No, sir. Just hypothetically. And you get on that first tee and it goes right into the woods.
That sounds like when you and I played here.
Yeah, well, I was right there with you. So
I said, man, at the range, I was bombing them. Now I can't get the ball in the fairway.
Okay. Moving on, let's see. These all came from Twitter. You can obviously follow UMass men's basketball at UMass MBB on Twitter. This is old Trevor Meister. He says, talking about your, kind of the roster that you put together, which this year, of course, has all of your influence on it for the most part. Let's see. Cross, Keon Diggins, bought in last year. What Frank is looking for when he scouts, and what is it about his message that gets guys with that type of talent that you've brought in? So what are you looking for when you scout guys, and what is it about your message that has allowed you to bring those guys to where you've been coaching throughout your career?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake a lot of people in this business make in recruiting is they look for talent. And if you can't identify a good player, you're not a good recruiter. So what guys do is they start calling other people, say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So when you recruit just the talent alone, then it doesn't connect as people. We're not a computer spitting out numbers over here. We're human beings. We're trying to figure out how to improve each other. Players got to help me. I got to help a player. That analytics has zero to do with that. Nothing. And that's where I'm patient in recruiting, because I got to find out the ones that we think are talented enough, who they are as people. And there's some really talented people that I don't offer scholarships to. I'm not trying to win a social media competition for best recruiting class in the country. There's some really talented guys out there that I'm not trying to knock them and say they're bad guys or bad players. No, they're really good players. But how they go about their business doesn't fit on how I want players here to go about our business. So why bring people into the mix for their talent if then behind the scenes you're going to fight each other? That's not healthy for anybody. So then on social media, everyone claims in the recruiting cycle, oh my God, what a great player. Like, did you've been on the ride with me since I got here. Did anyone give us credit for signing Jaden Yinge?
No.
Did we get any social media credit? Like, anyone ever say, wow,
What a
Frank, that's
steal.
good
Yeah.
one. No. Why? Because I take my time and I value who he is, how he goes about his business, and what he does. Same thing with Marquis Worthy. Like, you go through analytics right now, you probably sit there and say, why does Frank play that guy? Well, unfortunately, the analytic part of the game, he's not doing it real well right now from an efficiency standpoint of making shots. But that is one tough dude.
Yeah.
And he goes out there and he lays his heart every single day on the court to please what I'm asking for and to do whatever the team needs him to do. So he helps you win. So that's how I go about recruiting. The one I gotta be around workers. I'm a roll up your sleeves, let's go to work kind of guy. I'm not an excuse guy. I don't want to hear it. Like, my feelings are hurt. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I'm about, let's go work. And if we can't get it done, we're not going to come back here and blame each other. We're not going to come back here and make 100 excuses. We'll come back here and we're going to say, we're not quite there. We got to put in more work. And that's what I'm about. That's what my staff's about. And those are the kind of players that we try to recruit here.
Okay, I think I got one or two more here. Let's see. Let me flip through and okay, UMassHoops.com. They say you can follow them at UMassHoops_com. He says, we've seemed to have firmed up the 9-man rotation, constant 5 starters. Get the guys coming off the bench that you've mentioned here. How are the other pieces, the other scholarship guys, kind of coming into place and doing in practice? And that's Majuk, Mason, who just joined your team, and Tariq Foster. Those 3 guys, maybe not so much in the getting all the minutes as some of the other guys are at the start of the season.
Yeah, they're great. They come in every day. They work. They accept coaching. They go out there and compete. I mean, Matuk's wrestling with Josh Cohen every single play in post-ups. And, Matuk doing his job helps Josh become a better player because of Matuk's size. It's making Josh learn how to score over that size. Tariq has some physical abilities, and he's trying to understand the structure that I'm creating. And Tyler, it's all new to him right now. Like, the world's spinning right now, and he's trying to catch up. And but all 3 of them, I think, are going to become really, really good players for us. And part of our team success has been their willingness to come in here and compete on a daily basis.
Nathan says, you and Fran are both suited up for the game on Wednesday. He says, have you gone polo at times? Or are you
Last year I did it a couple times.
Last year did a couple polos. Is there a rhyme or reason as to when you put on the full suit? And do you have any fashion tips for a young professional?
I mean, I used to wear suits for high school games. It's, I don't know, there's a respect factor. I believe in wearing suits. I don't wear suits everywhere I go. When people say business casual, I'm rarely in a tucked in polo. It's not my deal. I'm not trying to sell clothing for any company here, but I'm a Tommy Bahama kind of guy. like comfortable, shirt and let's go. It's um, but for games I like, and there's a respect factor there. And we all stopped doing it during COVID. We were in empty gyms, and and it's a lot easier. I save a lot of money because I don't have to dry clean shirts and suits and all that. But at the same time, I think it's a classy thing to do. It's a professional thing to do, and it brings a respect factor to the sideline. I work at a university, institution of higher learning, and when we walk out there, we're not there just to hoop. I'm not just hooping at the local Y. We're representing a university and educators and everything that universities stand for. So there's a respect factor that I think we should all have.
Feel like there's a sponsorship opportunity for us with Tommy Bahama at this
I'm
point.
in. I'm in. You go in my closet, there's, I don't know, 20 slacks, 15 slacks, because I don't throw clothes away. You'll like this one. So I was getting dress shirts yesterday. So I got my dress shirts, and my wife says, wear white, no cufflinks. So I get a white one, I put it on, and I must have had that shirt. I had that shirt made. I must have had it made the Final Four year where I got really, really, really lean. I put it on, them buttons were yelling. They were, and then I wasn't lifting, so my shoulders were narrower, my chest, my gut, everything. I put that shirt on. My wife said, "You probably need to get another shirt." And so I take that one off. Thank God, it felt like a bad girdle. And then I get this other shirt. I could have wrapped it around me twice. It was like as fat as Frank can possibly be, big.
So you
And
found a middle ground now then.
yeah, I'm in the middle somewhere. And I was like, holy cow, I gotta start getting rid of some stuff. That's
Well,
but
I mean, that's why you always keep those around, just in case, you ever get back to that level.
yeah, but I got a slew. Of in Cuba, we got the shirts with the multi pockets that are similar to Tommy Bahamas. They're called guayaberas. I use those. Anytime you see Louis T on, he's got one on. I use those. I got them long sleeve, short sleeve. That's how bankers used to dress in Cuba to go work, was with those shirts. And then I got my Tommy Bahamas, and that's so when I go to a social setting or function that's not dress up, that's usually what I'm wearing.
Okay, we got another question. At CPS_93, Chris writes, besides the obvious of being away from your own gym and dealing with road crowds, what are some maybe overlooked challenges of winning on the road? Or are those just the two factors that you take into account?
Everyone fights harder to not let go of the rope at home because you're in front of family and peers. When you go on the road, you have to overcome that from the opponent, even to a greater level. When teams play at home, they're playing in front of, whether they play in front of 15,000 or 15 people, the majority of them have a connection to the players on the floor. And people don't let go of the rope quite as easily. So it's harder to beat somebody that hangs onto the rope even longer. Yeah. I don't like talking about officials. I don't, but they're human beings. And when an official is in a building, and that building has a lot of emotion, and that building creates an emotion for the whistle, the way it's being blown on that night, the home crowd can have an impact on those plays. So it's I don't know. That's, as officials got a hard job. They it's a hard game to officiate. The brand of basketball we play, which is physical, because if teams don't match our physicality, it's what I've always believed, they usually don't beat us. So then the teams that do match our physicality, then it makes it a really hard game to officiate. And we're not there yet as a program. but we're a lot better from that standpoint. And as far as us playing with and physical don't mean fouling. Physical means not getting out of the way. So that means now bodies collide. So now the other team gets out of the way, well, then they lose. But when they don't get out of the way, then now you got foul, don't foul, because you got certain physical plays going on. So I think all those things have something to do with it. It's as a coach, like talking about officials, when I go on the road, when there's certain referees on the game, I've had them in all kinds of environments. I know whether or not they're going to manage that moment the right way. In this league, I'm dealing with some officials that I've never had before that are really young, and I go through that experience with them, first time basis. And, I've had officials when they were young. I've had them on the road, not here, at other schools. And I didn't think they were very good. I don't call the league office a complaint. It's not what I do. But I don't hold grudges either. And next time I see them, I'm like, yo, man, like, holy cow. Like, you have human being conversations. And then they'll do my game at home. And I realize that's who they are. I'm the one that has to understand that. I can't overreact to how they manage that game on the road. I'm the one that got impacted by the emotion of the building, not the official. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's also, very different from the human element to when you've got 13,000 people yelling at you for making, one call. It might push you one way or the other.
At the end of the day, they're human beings. They're human beings. You can't, if you blow your whistle and there's 15,000 people booing the fact that you blew your whistle, you're a human being. Like, what are you going to do? Young guys, older guys that have been through it, haven't been through it, how they handle all that, you don't know until you go through it with them. So
what about the travel aspect of it? Do you think that ever plays a part? I mean, you see how hard it is in this league and all these leagues to win on the road in conference.
Who are the best teams in this league?
Who have been or who are currently?
Who have been? Like, you've been in the league. I just got to the league.
Well, Dayton's been great. VCU's been great. UMass, of course, at one point. That's
UMass a while ago.
Yes.
The last 5 years.
Let's go Dayton. Yeah.
Guess what? They probably travel differently than everybody in the league. They probably charter to 90% of their home games. That was one of the things Ryan and I spoke about when I got here. We can't be flying commercial and expecting to beat the teams at charter. It's a big difference. Big difference. Based on what time you get home, based on, because here's the thing with travel. So next week, we go to Rhodey on Saturday. That's a bus trip.
Yep.
And then we go to Loyola, Chicago on Wednesday. And we play the following Saturday. If we were going commercial to Loyola, Chicago, we got to travel Tuesday,
right,
and we'd have to come back on Thursday.
Yeah.
So now maybe you win that road game. How the hell do you win on Saturday? Because now you ruined your Thursday because you can't practice. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's it's the teams that travel the best, assuming they got I don't know how to say this any other way, but a coach that's a normal human being, and they got good players. If they travel the right way, they're going to win games. It's all connected. You can have a great budget and you got a clown for a coach, you're not going to win. If you got a really good coach that recruits average players, I don't care how much you spend on travel, you're not going to win. But when you got good coach, good players, and travel accommodations, first class, you're going to win. That's usually the way it works.
I also, you guys, there's the food aspect to it as well. It's a fascinating kind of like to be around the team when they travel, and they, no matter what the budget is, I think you guys travel very well, by the way. I think the hotels are awesome and the food's great. it's still just different, right? Like it's hotel buffet, it's just it's I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's, your body is your body, and it can get twisted around on the road.
You want players, you're going to ask players to compete like a champion, then you got to treat them first class. You got to show them that everyone is committed to their well-being. And that's Ryan Bamford is allowing us to do that here. That's how they do it at Dayton. That's how they do it at VCU. That's how even St. Louis. That's how they do it at St. Louis. Those are schools I know of. I don't know the other schools in the league. Those are schools I know. They do it the right way. When you're in the SEC, you got Kentucky. And they probably. I'm just going to venture here. They probably their basketball budget's probably greater than everyone in the league. Well, they're also the best program in the league for 100 years. And then you got Tennessee and Arkansas and schools like that. Their basketball budgets are big. That's why they're always pretty good. But again, if you're spending money just to spend money, then you're not going to win. It's got to be all three phases. The coaching has to be right, the players have to be right, and then the way the university commits to getting in bed with success, meaning spending money to treat people the right way, to give every possibility to win the next game a chance.
And you've got as you said, the bus trip, the easiest one to Rhode Island, just a quick jaunt down to Rhody. This league, I think people start talking about these different teams they say, hey, this is the team to beat. And then, St. Joe's had a great non-conference schedule. Then they struggled to start the conference slate. Rhode Island did not have a great non-conference schedule. Then they won their first two games, including one on the road against Davidson. So what do you make of the kind of the topsy-turvy nature of how this league play has gone to start the A10 schedule?
I think the league is good. I think we got really good coaches in this league. Rhody, I'll speak about them because they're our next opponent. Archie is really good. He's won everywhere he's been. He's going to win at Rhody too. He's got a brand new team. I don't care what guys have done at other places. They got to do what he's asking them to do and accommodate to that. And he's trying to understand different human beings so he can comprehend how to manage them and utilize their skill sets to make their team the best it can be. That's the beginning. Then you got the early year injuries, guys that miss games and all that. And then you got, ever since they allowed two-time transfers to become immediately eligible, so now he's adding a new component to his team. I think with Rhody, that's what you've seen. That's why you're seeing them play really good basketball right now. He's got them in a better place. He understands them better. They understand him better. They're more consistent with how they're playing. And now you've brought back your starting center from a concussion. And now you've got this new piece in there that just became eligible, I think 3 or 4 games ago.
Yeah.
3, who's really talented. And so everything has grown, including the talent that's playing. So you end up with a team that's playing a lot better. They're winning and they're gaining confidence. You can see it when you watch them play.
What do you make of, I guess, or do you talk to the team about the rivalry aspect? I mean, this is the rival game for Massachusetts, no more Temple in the league. I mean, it really is. Rhode Island is the one that the fans dial in on.
Yeah, I didn't say anything today because I can't add more emotion and more pressure to such a young team. I think that's something that they have to experience as they go through the journey. I think those are things that as your team gets older, they comprehend what that game means to everybody. If I start sitting around telling 8 freshmen, like, yo, this is the game, this is the one, and for some reason we don't win, those guys are defeated the next day because I added pressure to the journey of the next day. Um, but yes, tomorrow in practice, I'll make that, that's something that naturally, because we got so many first year guys, naturally I will make a comment about. But more importantly, those are things that the Matt Crosses and Ryan Marcuses of the world, guys have been around here, um, that they'll sit around the locker room and they say, "Oh man, this the one. Can't lose to Rhode Island." It's um, that's more of a player to player thing than it is a coach running in there, dropping that kind of stuff on them.
I wanted to give us some time because a lot of coaching news has happened over the last couple of days. And one that had been kind of rumored, but folks here in New England, I think, have been split on earlier this afternoon. This is the announcement from the New England Patriots. The Patriots and Bill Belichick have mutually agreed to part ways. What does that mean to you?
Sad, because I lived this as a Dolphins fan, growing up across the street from the Orange Bowl, and the two greatest football coaches, in my opinion, have been Don Shula and Bill Belichick, and I've got to experience both of them like up close in the Dolphins as a fan, and obviously the Patriots, from my time up here back in the early 2000s to now being back, and just because of the rivalry with the Dolphins. And I remember not too long ago, a lot of people complaining in the media and fans that the game had passed Shula by, that he couldn't relate to the younger players anymore, that he had this quarterback, Dan Marino, that was special, and we were wasting his greatest years with a coach that had lost touch with the modern athlete. I remember listening to all that nonsense. I was young back then. You know what? I kind of believed it too for a little while. Well, all that negativity eventually made that organization make a decision to change. How'd that one work out, Jay? How the old powerful Miami Dolphins been for the last 25, 27 years, whatever it's been?
Well,
I,
they're in the playoffs this year, right? Is that?
oh, yeah, awesome. That's 2 years in a row they limp into the playoffs, but for the last 25, 27 years, it hasn't been good. And I'm not saying that's the future for the Patriots. Be careful what you ask for. And so now there is change, and it's sad. It's sad because I grew up hating the Patriots. I knew nothing about New England as a kid, nothing. But I couldn't stand the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Sam Cunningham, Stanley Morgan, Steve Grogan, John Hanna. I couldn't stand them. I couldn't stand they. I just couldn't stand anything about them. And and I grew up to respect the heck out of a team that I grew up despising. And I respected them because of how they did things and how they went about their business, their professionalism, just the way it just wasn't about the winning. It's the class that they went about everything they did, how they went about their business, and the consistency with how they did them. Well, I always go back to something that my high school coach told me when he first hired me. He said, "Frank, always remember, the most important person in every room is always the head coach." And you've had different assistants, different coordinators, different this, different that, different here, different there. And the one thing that was consistent is that New England Patriots are going to win the game the right way. And then you got the obvious elephant in the room, which is the one that everybody, for whatever reason, we live in a moment right now, Jay, where we got to blame somebody for something. We can't ever celebrate people anymore. Instead of celebrating people, we look on who we can crap on to create reasons why other people are good or why things don't work. And in life, there's been a lot of good coaches and a lot of good quarterbacks. but the great ones are the ones that come together, not the ones that have individual talent. And the greatness of the New England Patriots was having a great quarterback and a great coach coexist for 20 years. That's what made that great. It wasn't one or the other. And for anyone to sit around and I've met Bill Belichick. I've had conversations with him on two different occasions. Once in South Carolina, and once when he allowed me to come spend a day with them this camp back in I think it was late August, if I remember correctly. I've never met Tom Brady. I respect the heck out of both guys. But
Well,
their marriage, whether it was good or bad, who cares? Their marriage was special, and that's what allowed the Patriots to be special. And but again, you hear everyone say it's Brady, Brady. Really? So let me ask you this: so Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Ted Johnson, all those offensive linemen, the running backs, like Lawyer Malloy, uh,
I lost.
Rodney Harrison, Ty Law, like those guys had nothing to do with it. It was just Brady. They just
Or
won
winning
because
a
of Brady.
Super Bowl 13-10, or whatever.
Richard Seymour, like really, like no, no, it's
Well,
Brady. The
well,
only reason they won was
well, let
Brady.
me ask you this, Coach, because I do kind of feel like the narrative was starting to get drummed up. And you said it earlier, it kind of forces the organizations to fall in line and make a decision that they might not otherwise make. So does a guy I'm on the camp that Bill Belichick and the Patriots gave me some of the best like moments of my sports watching life, and they'll never take those away. But don't you earn a certain amount of leeway when you have so much success like that? Where I know they've been down a couple of the years, but haven't you earned the right to prove that you can win and be sustained on the job? Or are
I
we
mean,
just in that world where it's like, oh, you haven't won this year, sorry, you're out?
no, I mean, Jay, the one thing that's for certain in all our journeys, specifically in the coaching industry, change is coming. Whether it's to your players, whether it's injuries, whether it's to your staff, whether it's to your bosses, or whether it's to your own career, change is coming. And that's why I said it's sad. I don't say sad in a negative way, sad because it's an incredible era that's coming to an end. That's why I said it's sad.
Yeah.
Belichick wants to coach. He's going to coach again. He's like unbelievable. The Patriots have been a class organization. Belichick had something to do with that, but it wasn't just him. Now the problem is for the people coming after Belichick, like how do you like get back to the place that he had the Patriots at? So the poor people that run it, they got a difficult task ahead of them. But it's change is coming. Like, sometimes change comes 2 years into a job and they don't give you time. With the Patriots, 24 years, man. Like in today's day and age, man, of this microwave society, which is what have you done for me lately? For somebody, I tell my young guys, you hear me mess with all these young guys as managers and GAs I got running around here, and they're all big New England Patriot fans. I tell them all the time because they fall in line with, well, he's made bad personnel decisions. I said, okay, maybe he made some mistakes. I don't follow it like that, but maybe he has. When you win 6 Super Bowls and you win the division 20 times or whatever it was in 24 years, I think your personnel decisions have been pretty darn good. And so
That's what gets me frustrated, is because people try to argue that he's not good anymore when they held, I think it was 3 teams this year to 10 points or less in an era where people score 30 points with ease. They've had a history of being great.
That's what's sad. That's what's sad. And the saddest part to me is the way this season unfolded. Because it would have been awesome that they go into the playoffs and they get beat and then they mutually agree, like, hey, man, It's because change is coming. Change is coming. Eventually, change is coming. It's you know, you let's say you're here and you make it better and better and better and better. Well, now you create this standard, and all of a sudden you're living here. It's still way better than where you started, but everything gets kind of stale. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. Yeah.
So now everyone thinks you got to change because you're no longer at the same standard that you created, even though you're way above of where you started. But that's where the change has to come. And you know, it's I hope he coaches again. I really do, because I just marvel at his greatness, his next day mentality, his roll up your sleeves, go to work. And like I told you, this is coming from a guy who I'm just telling you, I could not stand the Patriots. And as a
Hey,
kid,
we hated the Dolphins too. All right. So
I understand. That's why, because everyone that was around understood that rivalry. It was bad. But the reason the Patriots hated the Dolphins was because the Dolphins had just come off the success that the Patriots have lived for the last 25 years.
Coach,
And you know, so
go ahead,
that's the
continue.
deal.
I got a couple more items I wanted to get to. Legends Weekend is going to be coming up in February, the 23rd, 24th. That's the tip off at 2:30 against St. Bonaventure on February 24th. UMass will be honoring the 10-year anniversary of the last tournament team of 2013 and 14. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, what kind of bringing those guys back means for this program and honoring that success, and, the importance of getting not only that team, but just the alumni in general behind your program and coming back here and celebrating UMass basketball.
It's what it's all about at the end of the day. I get to do this at a school where everyone knows who Julius Erving is. Everyone knows who Marcus Camby is. But you get to meet Chaz Williams and Maxie Echo and Gary Forbes and Ricky Harris and countless guys, Derek Kellogg and Edgar Padilla, and countless guys that didn't have those professional careers, but they helped create this place and make this place a better place. Which I live in a better basketball program right now than those guys lived in when they were in it, as far as the conditions.
Right.
And same thing for our players. There's an expectation that our players have to understand every day that guys that get to practice here at the Champion Center, they got like 2 years of head start compared to the guys who used to have to practice in the cage. And getting those old guys to understand the respect and the respect that we have and how thankful we are for them, and getting our guys to comprehend how lucky we are and the responsibility that we got to continue that growth that we have to create here for that pride that brings people together. And then 20 years from now, we can be talking about we made it better too.
Stay tuned for the details on that. That's Legends Weekend. It'll be here on Saturday, February 24th. Coach, we could get into Saban retiring as well. Just I mean, for someone in your profession to have like Pete Carroll, Saban, Belichick, all kind of in one day, have their news come out, as a coach, what do you think of when you see guys like that finally hang it up?
How lucky I am that I had, I've never met Pete Carroll. I've met Coach Saban. I've met Coach Belichick. I met Bob Knight. I've coached against Krzyzewski. I've coached against Jim Boeheim. How lucky I am that I had people show me the way of what it's like to lead teams and to work and to not get wrapped up in the nonsense and the phoniness of public opinion and social media, but get wrapped up in the lives of the young people that we all lead. That's what's awesome. And I have a responsibility for me to be able to do my job in a way where younger coaches hopefully can sit there and say, "Oh, so you can actually roll up your sleeves, work, and be honest, and make a career out of it." And it's you know it also Jay, it also tells me I'm getting old because I've been idolizing all those guys and watching them and observing them so I can learn for a long time. And now knowing they're retiring, I'm like, holy cow! I'm that next. I'm in that next group. So
Hold on. I wanted to end with this because I've done some sleuthing around the Champion Center here within your staff, and you're old, but you can still learn new tricks. And one of the great managers that you have is Sammy Benretta.
oh boy,
And he told me I noticed that there is fluff marshmallow and peanut butter in the commissary downstairs. And I said, hey, let's make some fluffernutter sandwiches. And he told me that he actually introduced you to the fluffernutter, which I think is a New England roots type thing, peanut butter and fluff, last year. Is that true that that was your first fluffernutter? And what did you think of the sandwich?
I'm all in. I run around promoting it now. I'm like, I'm all in, and that all that him and Jake Hayden were the two that said the fluffernutter sandwich. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like this. I'm like, man, I had never heard of that. And they made me one. And I was like, ooh, wait a second. I went to the grocery store, and guess what? The old Martin household now keeps themselves. We always have peanut butter.
Yeah.
We've got a big old jug of fluff in there too, so we can get to work.
Coach, congratulations on the win on Wednesday. We'll talk to you this weekend at Rhode Island. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jay.
All right. He's head coach Frank Martin. He's just being frank. I'm Jay Burnham. This podcast has been brought to you by the Massachusetts Collective. Do your part and become a part with the Mass Collective. Till next time, we'll see you from Amherst.